Hello. My name is Alena Shautsova. I'm a New York immigration lawyer, and today we will be discussing the most interesting recent immigration news. We will be talking about good news for EB1 applicants, or potentially good news. We will talk about ICE enforcement and the most recent federal judge's decision with regard to the ICE enforcement in Minneapolis. And of course, I will be answering your guys' questions. So please join me, say hello, let me know where you're watching from. If you guys are watching me on TikTok, please send your hearts. If you're watching me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, like and share the stream. You have an opportunity to ask me immigration questions for free, so please use it. Type up your questions and comments, and of course say hello. It's very important that you stay on top of the immigration news, you stay informed, and this is what we're doing today. We're learning about the most interesting fresh immigration news, what's happening, various developments in various areas of the United States immigration laws, and we are becoming friends. So don't forget to friend me, join my social media family. And we're going to start. And before we're going to start, I'm just going to share a little good news from my office. This week, we got 2 major approvals for our clients. One was a motion to terminate the existing removal proceedings, and another one was a motion to reopen and to terminate a client's case. The second was a huge victory because a client was reopening old order of removal that was issued against the client in absentia, meaning that the client did not show up to court. And we were able to, in this climate, to win that case so that the client now can go and get a green card before USCIS instead of being sent to their home country, which is a major victory, as you can see, especially these days. And in another case, we were able to persuade the court to terminate the proceedings against the client. So again, they can go to USCIS and finish the green card process before USCIS. But as you understand, that comes with huge benefits. For example, if you are in immigration court, guys, you cannot travel. You cannot qualify for advanced parole in most situations, and you cannot travel. If you're not in immigration court and you are filing for adjustment of status, you have a right to request an advanced parole document and you can travel. So it's a big difference for these clients, of course, and we were very happy. Of course, we have other wins, other victories, other interesting things going on, but these 2 things specifically stood out this week for our office. And now let's discuss major developments, very important news for EB1 applicants. EB1 is a self-filing green card. To qualify for EB1, you have to show that you are a person of extraordinary ability in business, arts, sports, science. People from all around the world are trying their luck with EB1 cases. Currently, it's a growing trend in the United States as well among asylum applicants. Most asylum applicants will not be able to use the approved EB1 petition in the United States, but they may have a chance of using it overseas. And some of you guys, if you are an F1, you used to be in F1 status, O1, E2 status, you also you're filing for the EB1 petitions. But starting quite some time ago, it became very hard to win an EB1 petition, to qualify for it. You would have to show that you not only meet 3 criteria out of 10 as required by the law, but also you have to show that you're a person of extraordinary ability who sustained recent national or international acclaim, and plus that your presence will be useful overall, so say in the United States. So Nebraska Federal Court a couple of days ago ruled on a motion for summary judgment in favor of EB1 applicant, stating that that second tier of screening, that you must show that you sustained national or international acclaim, was added to your qualification analysis by USCIS unlawfully. And it's a huge win, of course, for this applicant. It's a huge win for EB1 applicants as whole. However, this decision, of course, may still be appealed by the government. And of course, the government may choose also just to change the regulations, to follow the procedure for regulations and change the regulations. But it's a very good decision for immigrants in general. Whenever you fight for USCIS, with USCIS over their compliance with the law, this decision helps you guys. The analysis in this decision is very useful. So please keep this in mind, okay? Keep this in mind. This is not nationwide law as of now. As of now, USCIS has not changed their policy with regard to EB1 petitions nationwide, but it's a first good step, and you need to know about this, and you may try your luck with motion to reopen perhaps, or even just to use this in your memorandum part of your submission if you're filing for EB1. You need to know about that, okay? Now, second thing I wanted to speak with you about concerns Minneapolis. Very, very difficult situation there. Everybody knows about it, right? We lost 2 lives, 2 US citizens over enforcement in Minneapolis. The whole country is shaken. And today, federal judge decides that she will not allow to stop. In other words, she will allow ICE to proceed with their operations in Minneapolis. State of Minnesota and mayors of 2 cities where ICE was particularly active sued federal government, stating that they are violating the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, that federal government exceeded their powers. And they asked for preliminary injunction while the lawsuit is pending to stop this ICE enforcement. And the federal judge said no. It's an important decision because it shows basically that federal courts, certain federal judges, federal courts are not going to be willing to stop the ICE enforcement. They're very careful in their rulings, very conservative. And that what we're dealing with right now, right? It means that basically right now federal government goes unchecked, and they're the ones who are regulating themselves. Just because of the public outcry, they kind of a little bit softened their approach in Minnesota. At least that's what they declared. They stated that their operations will be more targeted, more focused, but we do not know how exactly it's going to be developing and what exactly is going to happen in the future with all of this. And of course, it may be scary for you guys. It may be discouraging for people who take very active part in pushing against this very robust, very aggressive ICE enforcement. But this is what we're dealing with now, and you need to get ready for it. And if you get the news that ICE is coming to your town, to your city, to your place of residence, you have to get ready for this ICE crackdown. Well, how do you get ready? Well, obviously, at the very least, you have to have always on you copies of your immigration filings and receipts. If you have minor children, you should have that standby guardian. And I speak about this all the time, just in case. You should also have a lawyer lined up with G28 signed and authorizations signed for that lawyer, so that if there will be ICE enforcement, you will be ready to proceed. Last night, if you are my fan and you are visiting my TikTok and Instagram and Facebook pages, you, for example, probably learned what I was doing with my team last night. We were trying to get the authorizations signed by a client who is detained in Buffalo, upstate, which is a kind of far away from main action, so-called facility, and not so many lawyers will have access and ability to get authorizations signed by a detained client. So our client was very lucky, and we were very lucky that we were able to arrange for these signatures quickly, and we were able to do what we did for this client. But as I said, it's challenging, it's costly, it's expensive. It also going to be very challenging for your lawyer and for you to have this arrangement done on timely. Just keep that in mind and prepare for it rather than leaving it to chance. Okay, if you believe you may be subject to ICE enforcement, so you need to know about this. Now, if you guys have questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. All right, we are discussing immigration questions, everything that relates to immigration enforcement, law, situation in the United States. So join me, don't be shy, ask your questions. Let's see. All right. Hi guys on TikTok. Hi. If a friend was denied asylum, is it possible to file a motion to reopen? Well, it surely is possible to file a motion to reopen, but motion to reopen does not stop the order of the judge from becoming final. So a better tactics may be to file an appeal rather than a motion to reopen if you're dealing with the final order of removal. I'm filing for waiver from 2022 and I get 3 prima facie determinations. Now they expired and I don't hear from USCIS. Yes, sometimes USCIS is not in a rush to send you those prima facie determinations. So what you can do, your lawyer can do, you can follow up with them. And very often those follow-ups are effective. All right. Thank you, Nuka, for nice words. Yes, yes. I was reporting from last night. We worked very late last night for our clients, and I just want you to know something. It's not an exception in my office. For every case that we take, we work very fast, and the whole team works on the case. I have lawyers, I have paralegals, some of us go to court, some of us go to jail, some of us drafting forms. Basically, when you hire my office, you hire my trained team to work on your case. And that's why we're able to be very effective and very fast. All my employees are highly trained, very professional, and lawyers who go to courts, some of them are former prosecutors on behalf of the government. Most of them, they have 10 plus years of experience in courtroom, and we're very confident when we take a case that we will fight for you and get you the best result possible. Let's see if you guys have more questions. Thank you very much, Bharat, for the best wishes. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Schedule an appointment. We'll talk to you soon. Absolutely. I'll be very happy, excited to help you. Judiciary cannot be impartial or picked by current administration, if picked by current administration. Yes, but some judges who were not even picked by current administration are still ruling in their favor, guys, because of the general politics that's happening. You probably heard of the arrest of Don Lemon. I have never been his fan, but arresting a journalist because of his reporting, I mean, that's kind of overreaching and very, very scary, actually, and upsetting, okay? The person who was approved asylum granted by USCIS, is it legal and lawful? Are they safe? Yes, of course. Listen, if you have an approved asylum case, you are legally in the United States. Are you safe? Well, if your case was a true case and you did not misrepresent any facts, then absolutely. Even if the government is going to review your case as they promised they will, right? They said they will be reviewing all asylum cases that were granted during the Biden administration. You'll be fine. You do not need to worry about anything, right? Can you stop them from reviewing your case? No, you can't. It's not possible. So that's the reality of today, right? We cannot change that. Will the government be reviewing more and more cases? Yes, they will. If you follow immigration news tab on Google, as I do, you could have seen an article about an Indian national who was surprised to learn that somebody from USCIS reviewed their LinkedIn profile 2 years after his green card was approved. It means that certain people will be on their radar, in their focus for a while, potentially until you become a citizen, and maybe 5 to 10 years after, all right? Because you should know that they can accuse you of obtaining citizenship unlawfully if within 5 years after you've obtained your citizenship by naturalization, you exhibited views that were in discord with your application for naturalization. For example, you stated you would never and you never joined totalitarian party, but right after you received your citizenship, you became a member of some totalitarian party. That's a problem. Most likely your citizenship, if reviewed by the government, will be revoked, okay? All right, guys, I am very much married and I have children. I get these questions all the time. All right, I'm filing for our, yes, we got the vowel question covered. Let's see. Hi, DPQ. Can my wife and son get the green card at the consular processing while I do adjustment of status in the United States? They've already been included in my approved I-140. At the same time, probably not. The government will wait for you first to get your green card adjustment of status approved, okay? So they will not be able to get their status prior to yours granted. All right, let's see if you guys have more questions. Let's see, guys, from Instagram, how are you doing? What's going on in Boston right now? How long need to wait for date in court if I want to move there from New York City? Hi, Roman. Unfortunately, I don't have any specific timelines for Boston court and judges. I know that generally speaking, it's much slower. Smaller courts usually are slower in processing cases than courts with more staff. That I can tell you. But what's happening there right now, I would not know. But if you are moving from one jurisdiction to another and you have a court case, immigration court case pending, one of your first considerations should be federal law in the federal district where you're moving in as it relates to your claim. All right, this is very important to understand, especially if you have asylum cases. A person may lose the asylum case just because they moved to unfavorable jurisdiction. All right, and we talk about federal law. Well, that of course taken if you have a choice. If you don't have a choice and you must move, then you must move. But if you have a choice where to live, right, and you decide between different states and different places, don't go to a place where your case will be denied, all right? Call a local lawyer, ask them for their honest opinion, or do your research, right? Let's see, are green card holders getting some sort of letters from USCIS? Hi, Sammy. Are green card holders get some sort of letters from USCIS? I'm not aware of any in mass mailing to green card holders by USCIS. So no, I wouldn't say that. Several months ago, some green card holders were receiving letters, invitations to pay $1,000 for some time ago issued advance parole, and I believe those letters were sent by mistake, but that's about that. For ESTA, they're rejecting lots of people now and requiring an embassy visit. Yes, that's true. So visa waiver entrance, guys, strictly speaking under the law, do not qualify for adjustment of status. You don't. What happened was a 1990-something memo where USCIS director stated that in certain situations, you guys are going to have a break if you're an immediate relative. but it only is true for as long as the government does not place you in removal proceedings, or in their case, like expedited administrative removal. Why? Because you waived regular INA 240 proceedings when you entered the United States on a visa waiver. So your situation is shaky, all right? Your situation is shaky. You can try to go for adjustment of status, and it's only going to work if USCIS pretty much wants to adjust you. If they would like to call ICE on you to pick you up, you won't be able to adjust. That's just the reality of that. Is it safe to travel on emergency advance parole under VAWA? Usually, yes. Hi, Mr. Nikima. Hello, Miss Alena. Did anything change in the case that last time you talked me that you couldn't help me? I do not know. You have to remind me what is going on. And if you are someone who consulted with me privately, then you have to reach out privately, because I'm not allowed to discuss any details of our private consultations. So you need to give me more details as to what's happening, okay? What do you think about 42A with criminal record? If you qualify for it and you're placed in removal proceedings, you should absolutely try to go for it. Cancellation or removal for permanent residence, right? The 39 country travel ban, the people getting 221F after interviews, does it mean they're dead? No, it doesn't mean they're dead. So 221 is administrative review refusal. It's not typically denial. But yes, there will be delays, unfortunately. How long they will last, we do not know. But that's what it means. Administrative pause. Somebody has to sue for that pause to be lifted. A class action lawsuit has to be filed, guys. That's what needs to be done. Do you help with filing forms? Sure. January 26, my I-130 interview canceled due to weather conditions in New York City. Yeah, probably. Lots of cases were canceled in immigration courts, and with USCIS, not a big deal. You will be rescheduled. Green card holders, right? We talked about that. How long do I think it will take another one? It's hard to say. I mean, it can be a significant time, but usually within 6 months, you will be rescheduled. All right. All right. My country is on travel ban, and I have interview next week on Friday. Can I get a visa? Hi, Prissy 2019. If you are subject to the ban, if it applies to your case, then the visa cannot be issued, right? They stated that they will not be canceling the existing interviews, but from the news and explanations that are available right now, they say that they will not be giving the visas, but they will not reschedule the interviews. So you have to appear for the interview, but I will not be surprised if you will be placed in administrative processing. There will be no denial, right? But there will be administrative processing. All right, let's see, guys, on TikTok and YouTube. Hi, Veronica. Should I refile my T visa and send it now? I have motion to reopen, motion to terminate, perhaps, or should I wait for an answer from USCIS for my motion to reopen, motion terminate first? Well, the thing is this, T visa can be adjudicated with USCIS only, right? I don't know what happened. I think this is not the first time, Veronica, you are asking questions about that, but I just don't recall the reasons for the denial. Should you refile or should you file a motion to reopen? You file the motion to reopen. If you don't get a decision within 30 days, refile. Sometimes, if USCIS is still actively reviewing your case and they get your motion to reopen, they can rule on it very fast. But motion to reopen is not something pending. Refiled case, something is pending, right? If you refile the case. So I do not know the details and I do not know the reasons, but generally speaking, in this particular situation, you probably should refile for the T visa if it was denied for whatever reason, okay? Talk with your attorney. I mean, you probably have a lawyer working on the case and see what they recommend, because that person will know more about what's happening, right? And they will be like better help. If you would like to consult with me, please call my office, 917-885-2261. We do charge for the consultation, but if you're looking for a second opinion, I'll be very excited to help you, okay? Hi, Tawana. I'm currently working in Zagreb, Croatia, and I want to move to the United States. What do I have to do? Hi, Tawana. I guess it depends on your qualifications. Generally speaking, to come to the United States, one has to have an employer or family member to sponsor them. Some people would qualify for EB1 self-sponsorship if you are a person of extraordinary ability. Some people will qualify for an investment route. Currently, we have a couple of investment opportunities. We have EB5 investments, gold card, right? We have EB5 regional centers. Depending on your proficiency in handling business, the amount of money you are prepared to part with, you may choose different routes, even though none of them would be an ideal route, because nothing is guaranteed when you file for the United States immigration. Not even a green card based on marriage, guys. You should know that. So every case that is approved is a great victory, right? Every single case. So let's see. Does the fact different circuits have different precedents not make the law non-federal? The thing is this: in the United States, the system of law in general and practice of law may be different from your country, where there is a centralized code of law, and everybody else must follow it, right? Here it's very much different. It's complicated, and especially it's complicated for immigration law, because we have laws that are passed by the Congress and stamped by the president. We have regulations. Then we have the Board of Immigration Appeals decisions. And then we have federal court decisions. And then we have the United States Supreme Court decisions. And those federal court decisions, depending on the location of the federal court, may be different. Different courts, different judges may have different opinions about the same issue or similar issue. And that's why cases based on identical, almost facts may have a different resolution in the end. That's what we're seeing, right? So that's what's happening with the immigration law. So yes, depending on where you live, you may have a victory or you may lose your case. All right? It is strange, but that's just what it is. All right. So let's see if you guys have more questions. Let me know. We're discussing immigration, laws, questions, and news. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you guys for your nice words. Hi, Fanta. Are they still issuing initial work permits for asylum applicants? And is it advisable to apply asylum now if I'm from one of the 39 countries? Yes, they are issuing those initial work permits for asylum applicants. In fact, that application is specifically exempt from the ban, all right? So that's a good news. Should you file for asylum? It depends on your case. If you are afraid to go back to your home country, you have to file for asylum, especially if you are facing the deadline, right? Because if you miss the deadline, you will lose asylum by default. It cannot be granted. So you have to meet your deadlines, even if you are from those countries on the different bands. Very important to understand that, all right? Hi, Leonardo, please let me know your question. Let's see. Hi, Panda. For removal conditions, how long do they extend your green card? And can we still travel outside of the United States? All right, so if you received a conditional green card valid for 2 years and you have to file for the removal of the conditions, you need to do so timely, depending on the grounds for your removal. And your green card is going to be extended automatically from the date of its expiration for 48 months. Will you be able to travel on that extension, using that extension? Yes, you will be able to. Now, some cases are pending for longer than this extension. What are you going to do? If your I-751 is still pending and you are not in removal proceedings, you can ask for the edit stamp to be stamped in your passport, and then you can travel. Well, you actually can ask for the edit stamp even if your I-751 is pending and you are in removal proceedings. So that's how it works until the judge orders you to have lost your status you consider to be a permanent resident. Hi, Leonardo, is it harder to win affirmative asylum lately or didn't change much? Well, it's hard for me to answer that because I guess it depends on person's qualifications, what country they're from, the country conditions, and the quality of their asylum case. We actually got recently, before the ban, a couple of approvals that were very encouraging. So I wouldn't say that it's harder if we talk about the affirmative asylum case. It's never been easy. But if we talk about the courts, it's definitely became harder because of the Board of Immigration Appeals decisions, those unfavorable for immigrants decisions that raised the bar, so-called, of standards of proof by much. Tons of decisions were issued within the past 6 to 8 months. If before, for example, prior to those decisions, you could show that you received credible life threats, and that would be sufficient to prove you were subject to persecution in your home country, now by themselves, those threats are not enough. So it's definitely hard in court. As far as affirmative asylum cases, I wouldn't say it became harder, but affirmative asylum cases are on pause right now in terms of decisions. So after, I think, November 26th or so, you guys just won't get your decision. You will be called for an interview, but you won't receive your decision, right? Let's see if you guys have more questions. Do you know if I don't see granted after new fiscal year? Hi, Roberto. Let me know what your question is. Can I enter USCIS office with a regular driver's license, or is real ID required? Passport expired? You will have to get a real ID. Some USCIS offices, some, not all of them, refuse to allow you in without the real ID. So you have to get your passport, you have to get your real ID. I do not know your location, but in New York, we had like a mixed situation. At the beginning, they did not care because the real ID kicked in May, and on some days they do care, so you have to have real ID, all right? How much is it to file to remove conditions for a green card? It's around $700. I don't remember the exact fee, but you guys can check it out on USCIS website, Form I-751, filing fee for the Form I-751, right? All right. Let's see if you guys have more questions. Thank you guys for joining on Instagram. We're discussing immigration news, questions, enforcement. We spoke about the recent decision by the judge in Minnesota. And of course, EB1 development, which may be relevant for at least some of you if you guys are going through this process of EB1 filing, right? It's like a chance, like a backup plan for many asylum seekers, which is important to know about all these developments, right? My husband has been in ICE custody for almost 3 months. Hi, Sheila. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know what happened and how he ended up in that custody. If he entered the country legally or without inspection, determines whether or not he may qualify for bond. What his immigration and criminal history would also determine that. Sometimes a person qualifies for the bond, but the judge would not allow them to be released on bond. All right, so they say they're a dangerous person or flight risk. Hi, Geraldine. My sister Vawa was approved in August 2025. When can she expect her I-45? All right, so it may take up to 2 years for I-45 to be decided after I-360 approval, and it's not guaranteed that it will be approved, all right? Because some people don't understand that they may be subject to various bars to receive a green card, even if they won the basis for the green card. For example, fraud, right? Or let's say permanent bar situation or criminal grounds. So there may be some other issues. Winning the first portion of the case does not guarantee that the second portion of the case will be approved. All right. I'm from Afghanistan and I'm in the United States. Oh, I'm sorry, in the United Arab Emirates. I want to come to the United States. Ismail, I'm afraid now because of the ban, you may have to wait for some time to visit the United States. Can an asylum seeker marry a US citizen? Hi, ma'am. Of course. Listen, you can marry whoever you want to. The question would be, if you also would like to use that marriage for green card purposes, what's going to happen? And that largely depends on whether or not you entered the United States with inspection or parole, right? And you can show that that marriage is bona fide. In fact, it's done in good faith and not just for immigration purposes, and that marriage is legal, meaning that you could legally marry your spouse in the United States, right? How many pictures do you recommend for evidence? I know we need bills for us together. Pictures? Well, it depends on how long you've been together, but I would say 20 to 30 photos from different times, different occasions, right? Hi, Lilia, U4U valid until September 2026, pending I-45, EB1A. Do I need to extend U4U if TPS is pending? You always have to try to extend U4U, absolutely. We do not know what's going to happen with TPS or with U4U for that matter. But Lilia, I would ask you to consult with a lawyer about your qualifications for adjustment of status based on EB1A. And the reason is, if you entered on U4U and not on advanced parole based on TPS, current administration has been denying adjustment of status cases based on employment for U4U applicants. You need to know that, all right? So you need to know that. I do not know, again, maybe you have absolutely different situation, but you need to know that, right? Let's see if you guys have more questions. relating to the United States immigration law. All right, thank you guys for joining. What is habeas bond? What if habeas petition denied? Well, then the person will not be able to get what they asked for, usually bound, usually getting released, right? That's what it would mean. I'm an IR1 and the case has been without approval for 3 years. Hi, Millet. Why don't you call our office so we can review what happened in your case and why you cannot get your green card? All right. What's going on? Your immediate relative, right? Hi, guys. Listen, sometimes it's a matter of missed evidence, some minor issue. Sometimes it's a matter of more related to the law and your qualifications for a green card. I do not know what happened in your particular case, all right? So if you tried various things to expedite the decision and it didn't work, then something is definitely going on. But my general advice to all of you, prior to you pushing for that congressional review on mandamus lawsuit, speak with a good lawyer to determine if you may encounter certain bars in admissibility issues. It's extremely important to understand that if you will be pushing the government to make certain decisions in your case quickly or through lawsuits, usually, they will be reviewing and trying to find every possible way to deny you, not to approve you, but to deny you. Please understand it, and you have to be super, super ready for it. So don't try to expedite a weak case or a case that may result in a denial and deportation instead of your green card. Hi, Danny. I overstayed. Can get UK police character certificate. All right, are you in the United States and you overstayed and you're looking to get clearance from your home country for some case? Yes, of course you should be able to. There are ways to do so, but the way you're probably going to do that is by hiring a professional in your home country if you're from UK and you need that certificate for some reason, right? Hi, Amy. If my husband is in detention center and he wants to voluntarily depart, how can he get that? All right, so there is a difference between I agree to leave the United States and agree to the order of removal against me, and I would like to get a voluntarily departure granted. VD, voluntarily departure, is a relief from removal. It's a benefit that you have to file for. If a person is in detention, typically they will not qualify for it, but I do not know, okay? I cannot here 100% tell you that your husband will not qualify for the VD because I do not know their situation, but very often they won't. Agreeing with the deportation proceedings and stipulating to your order of removal is a different thing. The consequences, there will be two different set of consequences. If you are granted voluntarily departure, there will be no order of removal issued against you. You will be given specific amount of days to leave the United States within. And if you violate that promise to depart the United States within that allocated time, an order of removal will become, the order of voluntarily departure will turn into an order of removal against you with certain bars. If you are agreeing to being removed and you do not want to fight for your case, you are withdrawing you're released from deportation, that's a different situation. An order of removal will be issued against you, and then most likely you will not be able to come back to the United States within the next 10 years. That's how it works, okay? Will it be a smart decision, a smart choice? I do not know. It depends on the situation. But agreeing to the order of deportation against you does not necessarily mean you will be deported fast. People sometimes call me and say, my husband was ordered removed, but for 6 months he's been waiting for his removal in detention. The government would not release the person and they would not send them home. It happens too, you need to know about this. So I do not know what's happening, do not know the details, consult with a lawyer, see what can be done. If the person is just waiting to be scheduled for the deportation flight out of the United States is one thing. If they actually would like not to have an order of removal against you, it's a totally different thing, okay? All right, let's see, I'm going to answer one more question for tonight. Hi, Baru Yaya, do you think a United States-based teacher with a master's degree from a US university would be a good candidate for an EB2 national interest waiver? Have you worked on EB2 national interest filings before? We have absolutely worked on national interest filings before. Will just a teacher without more be a good candidate? No, because you have to show you're well positioned. You have to show that you have a lined up job. You have to show that you said master's degree from the US. Okay, that's good. So you do have master's degree. But just because you have master's degree by itself does not qualify you for EB2 national interest waiver. You have to show that you're well positioned. It's going to be the key for your case in this particular situation, all right? Some teachers do get approved. That's the fact, right? All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining tonight. Well, still today, I guess it's 4 p.m. afternoon. Thank you for your questions. Don't forget to join my social media family to stay updated, to get informed, to stay on top of your cases. I'll be very happy to see you all again the next time I'm going to go live, most likely next Tuesday or Wednesday night. And of course, check out my website, shautsova.com, where I publish various blogs with regard to various immigration issues, current decisions, news. Again, to get free information. We have tons of videos on YouTube about various ways one can get a green card, why a person cannot get a green card. All this stuff I publish for free, so please join my social media family, say hello, don't forget to follow, and I hope to see you guys soon.